It's a hive of activity around this place at the moment, Josh. How much, when you come to a new club, do you have to quickly get up to speed with what's going on so you can do the job that you're here for, which is to play football?
Yeah, there's been a lot of activity going on, but when you get deals done earlier in the season, I mean, we're still in pre-season right now. It's a lot easier to get to know everyone, get to know the tactics, etc. And it's much easier to just settle in. So it hasn't been too hard.
Having had previous loan spells, 3 I think, does that make it easier to do the sort of practical stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Once you've done it once or twice, I mean, it's a formality now, and that shouldn't be a problem settling in. And all the other stuff outside of football, I'm used to doing. So this is my 4th loan now, so it's all been smooth.
What have you learned from those previous loans? I guess from playing league football, from playing senior football.
Yeah, it's a much more physical league, and it's people's jobs are on the line. When you're playing 23s football, it's all quite nice and development and all this. When you come into a men's football like League 2, it's about winning and those 3 points on the weekend or a Tuesday.
Is that a bit of a culture shock? Is it something that you can't really be prepared for in academy football?
I think you can do your best, but yeah, until you've experienced it, you don't really know. But luckily, like I said, this is my 4th loan, so I know what it will be about, and I'm familiar with the league, so I'm sure that'll be no problem.
I suppose if 3 previous loans had all gone absolutely to plan and been fantastically successful, and you'd played dozens and dozens of games and scored loads of goals, it'd be a different scenario. Do you almost learn as much from the trying times, like in life?
Yeah, I mean, when you fail, you learn. I think it's important to not stress too much about when things don't go right. You need to take what you can from it and then move past it, and that's what I've done. Last season wasn't exactly how I wanted it to go. I was injured, but I've come back stronger, and I'm ready to take on the challenge again this year.
Does it make you more determined when the one thing that you love doing, which is playing football, is kind of denied of you because you've been injured?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. When you're injured and you're watching all the lads, train, and you're stuck inside doing a bike ride because you can't train, it's infuriating, and that hunger just builds and builds and builds. So now that I'm back, it's an injury is the last thing on my mind. It's almost, I know you can't control every injury, but everything that I can do outside of football to prevent injuries, I'm doing, because I don't want that feeling again.
You mentioned the physicality of playing league football. I've had to ask you to sit down because you're taller than me and the camera. Does that suit you, or is it easy for you to be stereotyped because you are such a big, strong lad?
Yeah, I've had it my whole life, so I've always been a tall guy, and obviously it's an absolute blessing because it means I'm physical and I can deal with a lot of physicality in a league like League 2. But you don't want to, like you said, stereotype it, because if you become just that, you're limiting yourself. If I can have the physicality with the technique, with the pace, you can become such a better player, and hopefully I can play up in higher leagues if I am able to show that I'm able to do all those things combined.
Is that one of the targets? I know every loan player always says, I want to play as much as I can, I want to help the team, but being able to show those different facets to your game and being able to contribute perhaps in different ways?
Yeah, I think I've always said as a player you need a few super strengths. So physicality for me should be a super strength, but that doesn't mean you can't have strength, and you can still have a bit of pace and good runs in behind and etc. So I don't want to, like you said, stereotype myself.
It can't be easy for a relatively young man who's got some experience but not loads of experience to come into a new club, and supporters will be going, we've got a centre forward. It's the guy who scores the goals. That pressure, do you have to have a certain kind of character to sort of thrive off that?
Yes and no. I think there is obviously pressure involved, but I would argue there's pressure in every position. A goalkeeper, he's got to stop the ball going in the net. A defender has to do the same, and I think you can argue every position on the pitch is the most pressured position. I think if you back yourself and you feel comfortable in the position you play, and you just have the self-confidence, self-belief, you can do it, and I believe in myself that I'm able to be the striker, like you said, and score the goals.
I get the sense just from this brief conversation that you feel like you've still got a lot to give that perhaps we haven't seen in previous loan spells for various reasons.
Yeah.
If there is a point to prove, is it almost to yourself as much as anyone else?
Yeah, 100%. I think you always want to be better than you were yesterday. That's one of my sayings, and I think it's important that you never compare yourself to others or to what other people think, because I know what I want to do and where I want to be, and if I can just better myself every day, then that will take me as far as I need to be.
And coming into this club, which is a blend of a lot of things, I think. It's clearly a small club. It doesn't have huge attendances, but there's been money spent on places like where we are now in changing rooms and training facilities and things like that. Just relegated. What kind of a challenge does this pose coming back into League Two?
Well, like you said, when you get relegated, I think it can go either two ways. You can either fall apart or you can come together and unite over something that obviously for the club isn't good, but that doesn't mean you have to sulk about it, because now we have an opportunity to push and potentially have a great season of winning the league that will go down in the history of the club and make it a very memorable season. And from what I've seen, I haven't been here long, but the squad's close-knit, the morale's brilliant, and I've been here a day and I've got that impression, so I can only imagine what will come in the weeks to come.
Is it important, do you think, that there's a core of players still here from last season, but also players like yourself coming in who will have new energy, new ideas, bring something new to the table?
Yeah, 100%. It's always important to have a core of players who have been at the club for a few years, know how the club works, and they can then rub that knowledge off on all the players who are coming in. And that just helps unite and knit the squad together.